This is the Lighting Fires podcast, supported by Henley Business School.
I think I was quite happy in the early stages of the coaching to kind of put everything in the future box. And I think a lot of the discussions we had, you pretty much said, well, why not today?
Welcome to the Lighting Fires podcast. It's a rainy Monday. I've just popped outside in between the showers to talk a little bit about this episode. So I meet with Ian Guppy. He is director of Feelgood Creative, a branding agency. And we've worked together in lots of different ways. In fact, working with him has been a real joy. I feel very lucky to have found real skilled experts, particularly very creative people who I can collaborate with. So we have worked on numerous branding and culture change projects together. And so Ian and I were coaching. I was coaching him at a time of real positive, exciting change for his business. Quite often people come to coaching because things are painful and they want things to be different. And actually things are going really well, and he wanted to set out a kind of vision and a plan for where he wanted to take the business. And I think what's really interesting in this episode is that he actually achieves what he wants to achieve, but in quite a different way. And I just also was reflecting on how important it is to do this from time to time, to think really proactively about your vision for your business, where you want to take it, and to take people along with you and build a team of people around you, people who bring such different skill sets to yourself. I think that's really exciting. That's where I get a lot of my energy from. I was sat at the Thames Lido this morning in Reading, a really beautiful venue, with 5 other coaches, and together we helped to organise Coaching Reading, an organisation that provides free coaching to charity and community leaders in the local area. And collaborating with these other coaches brings me a lot of pleasure and satisfaction, and the social benefits of being part of a team. I think that's something that Ian talks about really effectively. So I just hope you enjoy this. I hope if you're thinking about starting a business, it's useful. If you already run a business, I think it will be useful. Or if you're working in an organisation and you want to achieve something great with a team, I think you'll get something out of it. So enjoy the episode. Ian Guppy, welcome to the Lighting Fires podcast. Hello. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on your podcast first. As you just said, I'm Ian Guppy. I'm the owner, creative director of Feelgood Creative, and we're kind of like a creative agency just delivering creative solutions for startups, small businesses, charities and CICs, and sort of larger corporates as well. So main focus is helping businesses express themselves visually and verbally, and we then sort of set them off on the right path with brand toolkits, websites, socials, newsletters. And when we're working with them more, we help them establish their brand and provide kind of just ongoing support and guidance, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done exactly that for me with Lighting Fires.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we first met, I think it was 2017. I was the chair of trustees for a small local nursery school. And a good mutual friend of ours, Neil Riches, put me in touch with you and suggested you could be exactly the right person who could help us with some visual rebrand. So that was our first piece of work together. It was a pro bono project, as far as I can remember. And you created this most beautiful, playful logo that really reflected this perfect little nurturing preschool in Reading. So that was how we first.
It's one of those things about doing design. Sometimes you look back and it's not until you've had a few years away from it, you look back and realise what a great piece of work it was. And that sounds like we're boasting a bit, but it was just a really nice job, and it came out really well, and everyone was so pleased.
Every time I drive past that sign, I still love it, actually. So it was good.
No, it was good. And I was kind of thinking as well, it's probably, I mean, it was the first time we worked together.
Yeah.
We spent quite a lot of time talking about how we were going to do it. It was quite a small job.
Yes.
We did put a lot of effort into it. So
well, I think we
great
both
results.
Quite like talking about branding and design, don't we? And obviously I've got a marketing background, so that really appealed to me, that piece of work. But then I was setting up my business and I had been working as a coach for a while, but I knew that I needed a brand, something that really represented me and the work that I wanted to do. And I remember coming to you and sitting down, I think we might have been in Costa Coffee, and you were asking me some questions about what did I want from the brand, what did I want the visuals to kind of represent. And we'd gone through this whole conversation of about 45 minutes. And this whole time I was saying, yep, so my business is called Julie Williams Executive Coaching, and I think that's fine. I'm not that excited about it, but it's okay. And you asked me this killer question. You're like, so do you have any other ideas for a name? And I was like, well, there is this one thing that I've come up with called Lighting Fires, but I'm really not sure about it.
That kind of started it all, really, the whole brand. And that's kind of what you need. That's what you're looking for, I suppose, when you're working with someone. Because being a creative, there isn't kind of like right or wrong, and people can tell you like all the technical detail about their business. And when you're talking to them, you're kind of trying to get past that. And then all of a sudden it might be like one sentence, one word. Yeah. And it does exactly what you said your business does. It kind of just lights that fire, and all of a sudden you start to build up that picture in your head of actually, yeah, it's this kind of business and this is their audience and this could be their colours and fonts. And yeah, that's when it all comes to life for me.
Yeah. And when you presented the images, like the design options, I was just so excited about them. You gave me like 3 or 4 different options and I loved all of them, and I found it really difficult to decide, and I ended up having to share them with some clients and get some feedback because I wanted to make sure it really resonated with clients. So that's where this journey started, our kind of working relationship, and we've done a lot more since then in terms of rebrands for clients who've collaborated and change programs as well. If you're listening to this and you're interested in training as a coach, I can highly recommend the Professional Certificate in Executive Coaching, or even the Masters at Henley Business School. It is the best investment I have made in myself and my business. The course is led by research, so you know it has academic rigour, and the tools and techniques you learn are highly practical. You get the opportunities to practice, you build confidence. I also gained friendships for life, a community that's continued to support me. I can highly recommend it. So if you decide to take the plunge and contact Henley about the certificate programme, do mention the Lighting Fires podcast. So, all those years ago, we talked about whether you would like some coaching.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to hear what kind of led you to the point of deciding that you would like some coaching, and what might be useful out of that.
Yeah, so I suppose I could feel the business was, Feelgood Creative was taking a slightly different direction. It felt like, well, I suppose I was mentally taking a bit more a different direction. I felt more confident in what we were offering. But I suppose one of the big things was we were building websites. We were designing and building websites. And because of that, I employed my kind of first full-time employee, who was amazing, Luke.
Yeah.
Don't work with him anymore, but that's another story. But yeah, so Luke joined. And, he was quite young. He joined on an apprenticeship. He had some web design skills, but that was something we were working on. But I just felt like where we were with the business at that point and taking on someone else, I had a bit of a responsibility to kind of really understand and sort of develop where I wanted to take it next and what I wanted to get out of it, and put a bit of a plan together. involving Luke so that he knew, that he had joined this small creative agency, but it did have kind of a vision and a direction to go in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me to it. And also at that point in time, and I don't know if it was an age thing or whatever, but a lot of my friends and peers were having coaching as well. And I could see the benefits that they'd got out of it. Yeah, so that was the main reason, really.
Yeah, so I remember we talked about wanting to put together a bit of a plan for 2018. Sounds like so long ago now.
Yeah.
With some steps to get there, getting clearer on what you could offer to clients and a pitch around how to support that. Something around getting some more kind of processes in place, getting a bit more confident in how you talked about what you could offer, and also explaining the thinking around the work that you do and the thinking that's behind it. You're already very articulate about that, but actually making a point of having those conversations with clients to demonstrate what's kind of behind the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it was being able to package up what we did in a clear way so that you could go, when someone wanted possibly to work with you or ask for, you to send them a proposal, you had some like structure to how you work, some process that you follow. And I think a lot of it just makes it easier to sort of build your fee structure around, and actually demonstrate where their investment's going. So yeah, that was a big part of it. It just kind of like growing the business up a bit, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an exciting time. I remember because you'd also moved offices, hadn't you? You just moved into spaces during the start.
Yeah, so I think we were planning to move around that time, and the space we were going to was obviously really nice. I don't know, there was just a lot of really good stuff going on, and it just felt the right time for coaching.
Let's get into that a little bit. So what happened during the coaching that was useful, that helped kind of create a bit of change or some shifts and got you to where you want it to be?
It's interesting. I think one of the questions that you sent me just in the prep was if you were a fly on the wall looking at those sessions. And I'd say now, if I was a fly on the wall, I'd probably look at myself and say, one, don't worry about it too much, just relax more in those sessions. Okay. And the other one would be, you don't have to give Julie the right answer. Because I think sometimes in coaching, when people are asking those questions, you kind of almost feel like, this is what I should be saying. Which was a really good thing to do. But I think, looking back, maybe, my advice to someone else is just, don't sweat it. Just, it's not a competition,
That's really interesting to hear for me as a coach to think, I wonder if people are feeling like they have to have the right answers or the official answer. And there's perhaps more work to be done by the coach to ensure that people feel like they can just be completely their authentic, honest selves and say what's really going on.
I think you did get the authentic Ian in the end, but just looking back, it's like, but it's always easy with hindsight. It's like, did I overthink it? And did I try and kind of tell Julie a lot of the stuff that I think, not you wanted to hear, but I felt like I had to say. But I mean, at the time, it was really good. The processes we went through just to kind of understand the type of person you are, how you work with other people. That was kind of really key to me. And I was going back through today through Belbin.
Oh, yes.
It's Belbin, isn't it?
Yeah,
and Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious now that is the type of person I am, but I don't know if I knew that at the time. As you get older and as you have kids and stuff like that, you start to see what's in them, and you start to go, oh, that's a bit of me, or that's a bit of Julie or whatever. But as
Julie,
my
your wife, not me. Let's just be clear on that.
But yeah, so I kind of feel like with all the other stuff on trying to set that direction, also understanding who you are and where your strengths are and your weaknesses was really important.
Yeah. So what did you learn about yourself then?
I've got it here. And really, it just says, it's creative, outgoing, enthusiastic, loves opportunities, loves talking, loves a bit of chaos. Yeah. but there's always like a weakness side to it as well,
Of course,
which is might be over optimistic, can lose interest once initial enthusiasm has passed. I mean, that's from Belbin. That's the resource investigator.
Yeah. I was looking into this morning as well, actually. I was looking back at the results of the Belbin team roles, which for people who don't know what that is, it's a really useful psychometric tool, quite straightforward, where you discover the typical team roles that you take when you're working in a team. And it's really helpful because if you don't have all these roles in your team, you can figure out, well, how do you dial up maybe your secondary strengths to bring more of that to a team? What's missing? So for you came out as a plant, so creative, imaginative, free thinking, also a resource investigator, so outgoing, enthusiastic, kind of likes going out, finding information, bringing it back. And actually, Luke was very strong on the plant as well. So you both had that strength, although Luke was a bit more of a team worker. And then in terms of your kind of weaker areas, for you, it was kind of being a monitor evaluator. So somebody who's more sober and strategic and is tracking progress and judging progress, and the completer finisher as well. So, there's not... I don't come across many people who actually are completer finishers, really love finishing a task that they've started.
No, it's interesting though, because I have come across people who, and I really respect it now, they love a spreadsheet, they love completing that spreadsheet, they love organising a project, that's where their happy place is. But that's, for me, that's kind of like switching all the lights off, it's kind of... I do it, and when I do get into that flow state, it kind of really starts to happen. But sometimes it's just like, oh, do I have to? But I was looking at my Myers-Briggs, and I'm a ENFP for anybody who knows these things, and Julie can explain it. But there's one little sentence in there that I thought was, or a couple of sentences, really good. They are normally verbally fluent. However, when their deepest values need expression, they may suddenly be awkward and express their judgments with uncharacteristic intensity. And that is me all over. I'm like, I love talking about stuff, but if the spotlight turns on me and I have to kind of go a bit deeper, maybe like I'm even doing now, sometimes I just talk too much, again, it's that overthink it kind of thing. The spotlight's on you, you start to overthink and you start to just talk probably too much. But there's it's really interesting, and without getting boring about it, the other great thing is it does make you understand that there's different people out there. And when you're sat in a room, I spend a lot of time with creatives, which is great because we all talk over the top of each other and we all love ideas and we come up with like amazing stuff, but there's no plan behind it quite often. It's like, who's going to actually do this stuff? We all leave the room and then a week later, it's like, what were we talking about? But
well, we've experienced that when working on projects together. I remember working on a particular one and you are brilliantly creative. I absolutely love watching your thinking. But I'd be like, okay, we really do need a project plan now. I think I'm going to have to do that bit because it's not my favourite bit, but I know I can do it. And it's more within my gift probably than it is yours. And
it definitely, I mean, there are times I've done it, and then when I do it, I spend so long over it. I really do go into it so much. But that's because it's like a new skill that I'm learning, and I find it really interesting, But quite often, if I can skip that bit, I do. And we've worked on a few projects where they've been some quite big projects as well, really, haven't they? Yeah. Bigger branding projects where we've been looking at kind of the whole business and the positioning and the messaging. And I've had to present, with Julie and some other people, but the night before I just have the biggest wobble, and I've kind of got better, but it is something that I kind of have to, well, you've had to sort of bring me back down to earth a few times, haven't you? But and
that's fine. But the reality is that whenever you have to present, you're actually really brilliant at it. You're really engaging. So what you're expecting might happen does not match up with what actually happens.
No. I think the most recent time I had to present, I think I really knew my subjects, and I knew that what we'd created was really good. And I was still kind of nervous, but I was nervous but excited and wanted to get in there and wanted to kind of share all these ideas. I think it's sometimes where I'm involved in the process and I don't know certain bits of it as well.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, am I being a bit of an imposter here? You know, and I think what I should do is just go, right, this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. I'm not good at doing those bits, but you are.
Yeah.
So, you know, you do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that definitely did come up in the coaching, talking about kind of speaking in front of people. But as you say, like clearly that has developed for you over time.
It has, but when I see it in other people, it's a skill I massively admire. It benefits you so much if you can stand up in front of a group of people and kind of convince them and sell to them and kind of charm them. You know, it's a skill I'd love to have.
We could probably talk about that all day, but let's get back onto the subject. Yeah. So you found the Myers-Briggs and the Belbin really useful. And I think it's really true what you say. There are so many psychometric tools out there and there's pros and cons of all of them. And each one is just one lens that you can use. And then you have to factor in, obviously, you know, you've had, you know, a certain upbringing and you've had certain jobs that would have influenced your behaviour as well. But what I see time and time again is this moment of clarity for people when they read their profiles, and if they agree with them, which most of the time they do, it's almost like they just feel like they can kind of settle down a little bit into who they are. They now understand, right, this is who I am, and that's great. It's completely brilliant just to be who I am, and other people can be who they are. And that seems to bring a kind of quiet confidence that maybe wasn't there before. And I love seeing that for people, that sense of, okay, so yeah, you know, this is who I am, these are my strengths, these might be my blind spots.
Yeah, and I think the way people are much more aware of the differences, aren't they? You know, whether you are a creative person, a quiet person, a loud person, you know, whether you need space to think, whether you need a room of people around you. So it's a really powerful tool. And I kind of feel like, you know, especially if you're a smaller business, maybe if you haven't gone through this process and you haven't really thought about what these different people you've got working for you are, you probably are missing out on a trick, because they might be amazing at something and you're not kind of tapping into it.
Yeah, I think so. And I remember thinking back when we did the Belbin that it just seemed to be really obvious to me why you might have some processes missing and some steps that you would normally take with a client, because that's just not your natural tendencies. But then you did go on to create some processes and also talked about how you might apply the Belbin and maybe putting on a kind of a hat, so to speak, when you were working and using certain processes.
Yeah, and I think as a business gets bigger, it becomes more important, doesn't it, to have these processes in place, because otherwise, you know, you can't always just make it up. But and also having Luke, who had a different skill set to me, and understanding that sometimes he needed a bit more time, you know, that we couldn't just kind of change track so quickly. Yeah, that was really helpful. And also having someone else who is organised, I suppose, in a different way. Yeah, we worked well together. I was very good at selling the big creative idea, but then I'd just sit back and admire sometimes when it came to actually talking, you know, say how to work through the CMS of a website or how to kind of, you know, get content into your MailChimp. Luke would just be brilliant at it, and people loved him for it, you know. So we as a pair, we worked well together. So.
Yeah. Are you feeling stuck and need some help moving forwards? At Lighting Fires, I work with business leaders, future leaders and their teams to ignite their full leadership potential. Whether you're a business owner or leading in an organisation, we can work together to create a programme tailored to your priorities. Throughout our coaching together, I see my clients' confidence and capabilities grow as they gain a greater understanding of how they work, learn to make quicker decisions, and develop a vision for their role and a plan on how to get there. Through the challenges and the breakthroughs, you'll have me by your side. Get in touch on LinkedIn or email me, julie@lightingfires.co.uk. Okay, so what else happened in the coaching that you found useful?
Or I'm trying to think back now.
Well, one thing I thought about was we created a vision for the business. We used a neurolinguistic programming technique called logical levels, which is one of my favourite techniques. And this is really useful if you're wanting to create a vision or a sense of kind of purpose or get some clarity on where you're going over a kind of future period of time. So you typically would ask people, how far ahead do you want to think? And often people will say 2 years, which is what you said. And then we work through a process where we think about what kind of environment you want to be working in. So that not necessarily the physical environment, but also the kind of culture or the atmosphere. And then you also think about what skills or capabilities you want to be bringing to that future you, whatever role you're in. And then you talk about the kind of values that are important to you and how all this connects up to your sense of identity. So it's a really powerful technique because what you're doing is you're tapping into visualization, which we all know works really well. You know, all the Olympic athletes do it. You know, Taylor Swift has talked about how she used to visualize herself on the stage, you know, in front of thousands and thousands of people. And you're also actually tricking your brain into thinking that this can happen, because once you've had that visualization, it forms something very similar to a memory and your brain thinks it's possible. So it's absolutely brilliant for giving you a sense of inspiration and courage and confidence to go after that thing.
Yeah, and I can remember going through that, and I've actually kind of seen it in process with another business as well, you going through like looking into the future. But yeah, I think for me it was really helpful because at that point I really did want to have more people involved in Feelgood Creative, and I wanted to be in a place where it felt like a kind of, you know, a creative space and had sort of, you know, certain things around me that made me feel like, yeah, you know, this is what a design agency looks like. And working with people in more of a kind of getting involved at the beginning of a project, I suppose. So instead of it being just delivering a piece of design, it's actually them coming to me with maybe a problem or something that they want to solve, something that they want to start up, you know, an idea. And we were in there at the start so we could help them develop it. And I can remember walking through that. I think at that point I wanted like 4 or 5 people working for me.
Yeah.
Being surrounded by, you know, some desks, all of our Macs all working away.
A real creative agency vibe going on. Yeah.
And in some ways, when we first moved into the new office space, it did feel like that, you know. So I had Luke working with me. I had a couple of freelancers working for me. I was in this really nice space where, you know, you had like breakout areas and pool tables and a coffee bar and stuff like that. So, yeah, at that point, it really did feel like we were on the right track. We were much more involved in websites, so we'd built our processes around that, and we were very kind of clear on what we offered there, and also just like the ongoing relationship with clients. But we were getting lots of new clients, and there's some good startups as well. So, yeah, it was a really exciting time. But I can remember definitely going through the vision.
Yeah, because we did it actually as a kind of physical walking exercise along a timeline. But you don't have to do with that. But I quite like doing that. There's something about using the physical space.
I would say for me, on the coaching side of it, the more active it is, or kind of kinetic kind of learning, the better. So, yeah, you know, the more tools and sort of little tricks like that you could bring into it, I think really, really worked for me. And I did see, so one project we worked on, Julie got the the owner, the CEO of the business, to literally walk from one room to the other.
Yeah.
And one room was like today, and the end of the room was 20 years' time, I think.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, as you walk through, what do you see, what do you smell, what do you hear, what's happening, and it's really interesting to see, and it's really interesting to see for us running that project, but it's really interesting to see the person up there doing it, but also the other employees watching and reacting to it.
Yeah, because they're witnessing his thinking process. Yeah. And when I proposed to him that we do this exercise in front of his team, he really wasn't very sure about it. He's not a showy person. He's, but we did a lot of prep on it to the point where he felt comfortable, really ready to do that exercise on the day in front of the team. And it was really powerful because they're witnessing somebody really living this future vision of what they want and how they want things to change. And by employing all the sensory pieces, so asking people, what they can see, what they're going to hear each other saying in the office, what you might hear, what kind of the market saying about you, but even describing how you're going to feel inside when you achieve this amazing thing. And actually the really odd question about what you're going to smell, like that is a really weird question. But I remember when I was planning what I wanted for lighting fires, this was years ago, I did this exercise on myself. And I thought, I'm going to see myself working with individuals, but also working with teams. And there's going to be croissants and coffee on the table. And that kind of being able to think about the olfactory senses of smell and all of those senses, it really brings a vision to life, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, and you remember it as well, don't you? So instead of kind of like working through, I don't know, some answers on a sheet or whatever, or doing a bit of homework, you're up, you're doing it, you're physically doing it, so you do remember it.
Yeah. So, and I think that was around the time we had been talking about your title within the business. So what were you calling yourself at that stage?
I think it was just designer. I just looked at myself as a designer, and that's pretty much what I was doing. People were coming and saying, can we have some design? And I was kind of saying, yes. I mean, we'd maybe moved on a bit, or I'd moved on a bit at that stage, but I wasn't really giving myself the title that matched up with, I suppose, what we were actually delivering. Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't a big step, but it did take some convincing. Now I'm perfectly comfortable to say I'm creative director, and I know why I give myself that title. I mean, sometimes I call myself, you like, why don't you just call yourself director, or does creative director sound a bit pretentious? But it's like, well, no, because when you are working with businesses, you are directing them on their kind of creative path. You're helping them make those choices, and you're giving them options.
Yeah, and this is what people want because they're not creative. And I just think creativity is so at the heart of not just literally what you do, but about who you are as a person. You are a highly creative person. And so this idea of calling yourself creative director in the future, I think we had a conversation about, well, could you start calling yourself that now? And there was a bit of you feeling uncomfortable with that.
I think I was quite happy in the early stages of the coaching to kind of put everything in the future box. And I think a lot of the discussions we had, you pretty much said, well, why not today?
Yeah.
Why not tomorrow, next week? And that was to do with charging as well, fees, because like most creatives, probably undercharge and over deliver, the ones that really care anyway. And we were definitely doing that,
Yeah. So. Yeah. We definitely had some conversations about fees. And
it's a scary one though, because it's so subjective, and you always feel like it's very competitive, and sometimes you're like, how much are people willing to pay for a logo? I mean, some people are willing to pay £5, and other people are willing to pay like tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So that's where I think, that whole process and all the evidence behind how you work and what you do and stuff kind of has to come into it as well.
Yeah, and also I think there's something around working with the clients who value what you do and get it. And I think you certainly started to get clear on who you wanted to work with, but also you realised that startups would be an exciting kind of client to really focus on at that point.
Yeah, because even back then, I think one of the sessions we were talking about fees and, can you flex it? And I think you have to, because if you are working with the larger corporates, actually there's more at stake and their brand's already got this massive value. So, if you're adding to that, then it probably is worth more. If you want to work with startups, sometimes they just haven't got that money to invest in the first place, but the idea and the opportunities of working with are so good that you kind of want to do it anyway. And then I can remember now, we also talked about working with the charities and the CICs, and the non-for-profits. Again, done lots of work with all of those, in that kind of, what's it called, the third sector?
Yes,
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we were delivering value for them, as well as a great product. So, yeah, I think you talked about structuring fees and things like that and how to do it in a way where you feel like you're kind of actually helping them out.
Yeah, I think that's the thing when you're working with charities, you almost feel even more responsibility to give them really great value for money because you know that they're really struggling to pay for this service and they really need it. But again, it comes back to I don't think people really appreciate and value things when they get them for nothing, and so.
No, they don't. But businesses, I know so many business owners who really struggle with charging, and it is a proper conversation you have to have, and you have to really think about it, and you have to have a bit of a plan around it, and you have to be able to kind of evidence it as well, don't you? But it's so easy to undersell yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my next question is, was there anything that you wanted to get out of the coaching that you didn't get?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd love to have walked out of there being like this amazing kind of business owner who all of a sudden, was going to put all the wheels in motion and get everything happening. I think actually it probably helped me a lot more than you're kind of immediately aware of. So over the years you kind of look back on it and you call back on some of the things that you did. But no, I don't think there was anything really.
Okay. So where are you now, all these years later?
So yeah, I mean, Feelgood is 14 years this year, which is shocking me. And kind of, I do still feel like every week is just almost like a fresh start, and there's new ideas. But so we're still working with all our amazing clients, doing lots of great work, lots of branding work at the moment, and some campaigns as well, which are really good. But growing the team, it didn't grow to 5. But what I did start doing was working with what I called Feelgood friends at the time. Yeah. But it's more like a collective. So copywriters, or brand story specialists, marketing, it's kind of specialists, animators, videographers, photographers. So there's a whole like network that I've built up, coaches who got really good relationships with, been working with probably for more than 5 years, who I call in now as part of the team, and bring those skills in when we need them, which is something that I try and do virtually on every project, whether that's another designer who I'm working with at the moment who's brilliant, and that's a campaign that we're kind of just about to roll out, but there's more work on coming because of that. Constantly working with a copywriter, Hillary, who's also just doing brilliant work. And there's a project together, she's great. And then and animation, we've just done some animation, and actually quite a bit of animation, one of the other projects, and just video and photography as well. So it's really nice having that team to kind of work with and support you. And I'm more than happy to bring them in to meet clients. But I don't actually say this is Feelgood. I'm confident enough now to say I'm Feelgood.
Yeah.
I'll be your main contact. I'll be leading the project, but alongside me, I've got these brilliant people.
But there's actually something very creative in that setup, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's very flexible. You can bring in different people on each project. You're probably more tempted to work with new people and innovate because you're not having to hire them and all the complexities of that.
Yeah, the other thing is they don't just do what I say because they've got their own skills and they're really confident in what they deliver. So it's quite often it's me saying, this is the brief, this is a client, this is what I kind of feel, this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
What are your ideas? So they get that. And also it just means that the client does get to speak to different people, in their different ages and from different parts of the country and stuff like that. So keeps it fresh, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back to when I was in a head of marketing role in a corporate, and I was obviously on the client side working with marketing agencies, and I used to find it really thrilling meeting all these really creative people with their different skill sets who were very confident in what they do because they do it every day and they're expert, and I knew that I could learn from them. And for me, as I'm a fairly creative person, that really excited me, those opportunities to meet those people. So
well, yeah, and you've worked on a number of projects. Well, a couple where we've almost shared the ownership of the project. Yeah. We've brought other people in on those as well, and it just works so well, doesn't it?
I really enjoy that. It's great. Yeah. Right. So, final question: what would you say to somebody who was starting out in business in your situation many years ago, and what advice would you give to them?
I think, again, it's don't overthink it, because I'd worked for agencies and I'd worked in marketing sort of functions in large corporates. I had the opportunity to take voluntary redundancy at that point, and then so I kind of thought, I know, I'll set up my own on my own. And it was really exciting setting it all up, and it was great fun getting it going. But I didn't have a business plan at that point. So my advice would be, if it feels right, go for it. Don't overthink it, and don't let people put you off. Don't let people say, "Oh, you'll never have a holiday, you'll never have any money, or you'll have to work every weekend," because I don't think it has to be like that. Yeah. So. But also just grab every opportunity as well. Don't let opportunities slip. So just, especially in those early years, just get straight on them.
I would totally agree with that. When I first started up my business, I just decided I was going to say yes to every opportunity that came across my work. And I found myself putting myself out of my comfort zone, doing really scary things. But I just learned so much, and it just kept propelling me forward because of the people that you meet or the unexpected doors that then open. I think there is something about starting out with that attitude. And actually, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, well, I'm probably starting to do that again a little bit now with this podcast. So I'm still putting myself out of my comfort zone sometimes, but I am taking opportunities with excitement to see where it takes me next. So, yeah.
One other thing I'd like to add to that I did think about was, it's such a great feeling when someone's listening to you and then they want what you're telling them. They're happy to take your advice, and all of a sudden you realise that you do know a lot about your subject. People do want what you can offer, and it's just a really nice feeling.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, thank you very much, Ian, for being a guest.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to us working together some more in the future. So my top tips for this episode. Firstly, do the work, even if you're a team of 1 or just 2 people. Set out a vision for your business. Get really excited about the future and where it's going to go, and try using a physical space to do this. Try literally kind of stepping into your future and talking about what you see and what you hear in this future, like how you're going to feel when you get to this point. Because using space and kinetic learning and moving your body during these kind of exercises can make this much more memorable and therefore more powerful as an exercise. Also, we've talked about personality types before. If you can't do personality type work with a coach, then I would encourage you just sit down with the people that you work with, whether that you're in an organisation or it's your own business, and find out more about each other. This might feel like you don't have time to do this, but it's a really important investment. Understand people's strengths, how they like to communicate, the skill sets they might not have told you about, things that they used to do in other jobs or past careers, things that they enjoy doing. You know, the more you can find out about this, the more useful it can be, so that you can all build a way of working together where you really play to your strengths and you can really enjoy that. And if you run a business, take up offers, take up opportunities, especially when it's really new, and finding people with complementary skill sets that can create a kind of virtual team around you, even if they're not working directly with you. It gives you a sense of belonging. It fills our kind of social needs to be with others. I can really recommend it. So I hope that some of these tips are useful, and I look forward to joining you with the next episode of the Lighting Fires podcast. If you'd like to find out how we could work together, you can visit my website, www.lightingfires.co.uk, email me at julie@lightingfires.co.uk, or contact me on LinkedIn, Julie Williams, MSc. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave a 5-star rating so others just like you can find me and benefit from these stories.